I found that to be a really inspiring game. I really did. I want to start this video by expressing my well wishes to Erik Spoelstra and his family after what I can imagine is one of the most traumatic things possible. Of course, yesterday he came home with the entire Miami Heat team back from their road trip. They ended in Denver, came home, and Erik Spoelstra came home to just what was a brutal house fire and what destroyed almost everything, as I'm sure you've seen the clips online. I didn't get a chance to talk about that a little bit yesterday or the Bam injury like I wanted to because I've had a very busy weekend, including a very busy experience watching this game, and we'll get into that. But I can't imagine what that's like to come home after a long road trip, a rough one for him too, just in terms of his career, his job, because more so his passion, because we know that he is a passion for this basketball stuff. He's an absolute sicko, which is further proof by him coaching in tonight's game. No one would have blamed him at all if he had taken some time off for himself and to kind of get his affairs in order and just get right mentally. But he's a basketball sicko in the best way possible, And I think maybe the best thing he wanted to do for himself is to get right back out there and get right back coaching because, I can't imagine what that's like coming home. After, like we said, it was a rough game because Bam got hurt at the time. They didn't get the MRI yet. And obviously as a Heat fan, I was scared, very concerned, waiting all day for the news on what ended up happening with Bam Adebayo. Ended up being maybe best case scenario with a big toe sprain. He's listed as day-to-day. But I woke up yesterday morning. First thing I did was check Twitter, waiting to see if there was some Bam news or hoping to see some updates on him after his MRI. And instead, I saw something much worse, which was, of course, the Spoelstra news. So the fact that this team came out today to that hot a start, to maybe give their coach some sort of happiness, during this time of trouble in his life, I found that to be really inspiring. I know eventually Charlotte ended up coming back and tying things in the second quarter. It was a rough one for the Heat there. But overall, the Heat played decent enough in the second half. They had a very good fourth quarter specifically. And they were able to pull away with a pretty comfortable win. But that first quarter was inspiring, man. I mean, you had your two best players were out also, your two All-Stars. Of course, Tyler Hero's been out. He'll be out maybe another 10 days or so. I think they said his expected return is possibly like around the 17th. I know they have a Knicks game around then and a Warriors game around then. So I certainly hope the Heat are at full strength for the Warriors game. But you had no him tonight. We knew Bam was going to be out with the toe injury. Bam will probably miss tomorrow as well, if I had to guess, because they have a back-to-back versus Portland. But you come into this game without your two best players and you put up 53 points in the first quarter. You shoot the absolute lights out and you set a franchise record for points in the first quarter. I mean, it almost brought a tear to my eyes, man, because I really felt like they were out there doing that for Spo. And I thought it was a beautiful thing. Spo spoke pregame, or they had the press conference, whatever, and he had his 3 kids with him. And he was just in unbelievable spirits, man. Just to see him with a smile on his face with his kids there and using it as almost a learning opportunity for his kids and say, hey, we got our lives, we got our health, and that's what's most important in life. I mean, it was just awesome to see from Spo. I heard all kind of things about how the whole front office was just in awe about how he could stay so uplifting during these troublesome times. And I love Spoelstra, man. So I wanted to start this video out by giving him some love for a while because he gets underrated far too often. I think a lot of times even within the Heat fan base. If you listen to national media and all these things, he gets a lot of praise. Never won Coach of the Year, which is ridiculous. But he certainly gets a lot of praise. He was voted one of the top 15 coaches all time or whatever. But during last season, when the whole team struggled, and I thought Erik Spoelstra specifically had an awful year, I'm a realist, even though I love Spo. I will be the first one to tell you that he sucked last year for multiple reasons. But you had a lot of Heat fans calling for his head, calling for his firing. And I wouldn't say majority of Heat fans. I think most Heat fans recognize Spo's greatness and everything that he brings to this team. But there were still a lot of Heat fans that were calling for his firing. And, you're allowed a bad year, especially when you had everything going on that Spoelstra did just between the Jimmy situation and then his off the court, personal life and everything. So I don't blame Spo for having a rough one last year. But then to see him bounce back this year with a whole revamped offense with a pretty similar roster, you bring in Norman Powell, you got some improvements from the young guys ideally, but it's not like they did a major roster overhaul from how last season ended, They still have virtually the same rotation. You just sub in Norman Powell for Tyler Hero and for Fontecchio, I guess. They did add the world's greatest shooter. I guess that maybe does make a difference. But just to see him completely revamp this offense and turn it into what it's become today, because, you know, even today, what did they score again? They scored 126 points. You know, they're doing this type of thing every night, and that's just a credit to Spoelstra to be able to completely turn around this offense in one offseason. It's admirable. It really is. Especially when you consider, again, they didn't have the two best players tonight. You know, that could beg the question, what does that say about Tyler Hero? You keep breaking these scoring records without your quote-unquote best scorer. You know, even though at this point I feel pretty comfortable saying Norman Powell is a better player at this point in time. I just think he's serviceable on defense. I think he's more efficient. He gets to his spots a lot easier, better off the ball. Not the facilitator that Tyler Hero is, but let's not act like Tyler is an elite facilitator. Anyways, he's decent. He's good. You know, better in the pick and roll certainly than Norman Powell is. He's better with the ball in his hands. But either way, I don't want to make this a video of Tyler. I don't want to make it Tyler Hero centric, I guess, because I certainly think Tyler Hero would help this offense. I think he would fit really nice in this running gun scheme because he can run. So I'm not one of those Heat fans that thinks, oh, he's going to mess everything up. I don't think so. I think this Heat team will be better. But I think what a hot start to a season and what a game like this does is it makes it kind of impossible to pay Tyler Hero $40 million plus, especially a max contract, which was what he wants. You know, makes it impossible to do that because if you're scoring over 120 points a night without him, if you're a top 5 offense without him, is he really worth paying $50 million? You know, I think at that point you might be better off trading him while he still has a lot of trade value. Coming off an all-star season last year, still 25 years old or whatever. Maybe you're better off trading him and getting some more pieces that fit size-wise, you know, because the Heat certainly need some more size. We saw that kill us today once again. I was very disappointed by the Heat's two big men, Jovic and Ware, and Bam's absence. They both had some moments, but overall, just to give you quite the pop that you hoped for. But just kind of wanted to share some thoughts on the whole roster construction thing too, because we're at a time now where there's going to be a lot of questions asked. You know, this Heat team I think is better than expected, which maybe prompts the front office to maybe make moves a little bit quicker than they expected. And I certainly think a consolidation trade is necessary to kind of take some of these great pieces and maybe trade them for one better piece, just because you see guys today like Fontecchio continue to pop. Pelle Larsson dropped 20 points, and it's like these are guys that I wasn't even sure was going to make the rotation fully healthy. But they're playing too damn good to take out the rotation. It's like you still got to fit Tyler Hero in here. You still got to fit Bam when he comes back. So a lot of questions surrounding this roster. But overall, it was a fun game. I did find it enjoyable, although it was an NBA Cup game, which I still find those stupid and pointless just because I don't think there's a lot of stakes for fans. Like if the Heat win the NBA Cup, I wouldn't particularly care. You know, I feel good for the players that would win $1 million, especially for the guys like Ashad and Pella and the guys who aren't on large deals. That money is life-changing for them, certainly. But in general, I don't care. You know, maybe I'd care a little bit if I threw a little bit of money on it, because I did see that the FanDuel, the sponsor of today's video, does have the Miami Heat with the 4th best odds to win the NBA Cup, or at least their group. They're in Group C with Milwaukee, the Knicks, the Bulls, and Miami. And I'm not gonna say I expect Miami to win their group, but at plus 410, it's juicy enough odds, and I don't think the Heat are substantially worse than the Bulls, Knicks, or Bucks. So there's some juicy odds there if you want to get in on FanDuel. Throw a little bit of dough on it. But you had the NBA Cup where point differential, I guess, does matter. So I guess it helps that even after the Hornets came all the way back from like 27 down to tie, the Heat still won by 18, which does have us first place in our group as of today, because I think the Bucks won by like 16 or something. So the Heat still had a relatively comfortable win. You know, they got off to that monster hot start from in the first quarter. They were firing from 3. Wiggins and Ware hit a 3, and Davion hit a 3, and Norman Powell, my God, had another 4-point play. This time it was called a flagrant because Trey Mann didn't give him a lot of space to land. I don't really like that call though. Like, it's very hard as a defender to close out on a 3-point shot without getting in that landing zone. So I think it puts the defender in an impossible spot sometimes. I think that rule was instated when Zaza Pachulia intentionally tried to hurt Kawhi Leonard. And it's like, that's why that rule should be in place. You know, when someone like Zaza tries to make a dirty play and take out Kawhi, it shouldn't be when Trey Mann is making a innocent contest and happens to land under Norman a little bit. You know, I don't know. Even though that worked out in the Heat's favor, I don't particularly love that rule. But the Heat would score their franchise record 53 points in the first quarter, and they would be up 53-33 after one. They interviewed Davion Mitchell after the quarter, and he wasn't even like smiling. And I love it because he probably doesn't care that the Heat scored 53. He probably hates that they gave up 33. And I love that about Davion Mitchell. After that, I really don't have that many notes, to be honest, because I told y'all in the last video, I'm having some friends come over from out of town. They're staying with me this weekend because we're doing a Friendsgiving tomorrow. So around this time is when I started to have some people arrive. I wanted to get some cooking prep done. We're in charge of the mashed potatoes because, of course, you know, we're the hosting home, so we got to do the turkey and mashed potatoes and ham and stuff. So I wanted to at least prep a lot of the potatoes so I can make them tomorrow. And I'm thinking, good. You know, the Heat are up 20. It's going to be an easy breezy game. I don't have to sit here and take a bunch of notes. So I'm having a few people show up at my house, and I'm starting to peel potatoes, and I'm watching the game, certainly, and I'm talking. And I'm like, okay, good. I don't have to focus that much. And before I know it, the Hornets 10-0 run, 15-0 run. I think it got all the way up to like a 27-2 run is what it was. So I'm thinking, damn, now I got to stop cutting these potatoes because apparently it's bad luck or something. So I wasn't able to take a ton of notes from then on because I was in the middle of preparing food. And I thought I was going to have a free, easy breezy game. No, that was not the case. But it all worked out because they were going to the second quarter. They would finish the second quarter still up 3 points. So it never actually, I think the Hornets came as close to tie. I don't think they ever actually took the lead. Really, the biggest scare in that second quarter was Norman Powell limping off with a right ankle sprain, they called it. And I'm thinking, oh my God. Oh, you can't afford to lose more. And it's just this Heat team. When is the injury luck gonna be on their side for once? It just seems like multiple years now in a row you've had the bad injury luck. At some point, it's got to even out, you know. But let's hope the Heat get all their injuries out the way early and they're more healthy come postseason. I guess that's the optimistic way to look at it. But in the third quarter, like I said, Norman would start. I should mention that Ware got to start today without Jovic. So it was your new normal starting lineup with Davion, Norman, Pella, Wiggins, and Ware. So they would also start the second half there. I think that's the quarter that the Hornets actually ended up tying it. The Heat didn't play particularly well in the second or third quarter, specifically Jovic. I thought had a lot of rough moments. We'll look at the box score. His numbers aren't actually all that bad. But I wasn't impressed with those two. They played a lot of ISO ball. Even Wiggins, who had a great game today, I think was settling for isolation a little bit too much. I think they were, even Jaime, I think he was missing Ware inside with some mismatches and stuff. So the effort was not great in those two quarters. But, I mean, when you score 53 points in the first quarter, I don't blame you for letting your foot off the gas pedal a little bit. You know, it's just human nature. The most important part is that going into that fourth quarter, the Heat really took over. Specifically, my guy, Jaquez Jr., my God, did a nice little crossover at the top of the key and put Sion James on his ass and finished with the dunk over Kalkbrenner, man. And that really just put the stamp on things as the Heat were able to come away with a pretty comfortable victory, which thank God, because if the Heat would have lost to a guy named Cockburner and Nipple, I would have been mad. That's what they did today. Because, of course, I should mention the Hornets had no LaMelo. They had no Sexton. Brandon Miller is still out. And they almost lost to a Nipple and a Cockburner. Can you imagine? But we'll run through the box score little bits here and just talk about everyone for a second. So this says Pelle Larsson 19 points. I could swear he had 20. Maybe they made a correction somewhere or the NBA app is not correct. But this says 19 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 8 for 11 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3. So the efficiency overall is just insane. 0 turnovers for Pella. Continues to be good at a little bit of everything. Defensively is very solid. And I like how, what did we say? He took 11 shots. Only 3 of them were 3-pointers. So he was being aggressive getting to the rim. He does an excellent job when he gets in the paint to kind of lead with his shoulder to kind of put the defense off balance, and then does a great job hanging in the air to finish off. I thought he showed some great touch today. Wiggins really picked up the offensive load without Bam out there. Wiggins with 22 points, 9 of 16 from the field, 4 of 6 from 3. He continues to have an excellent season. Norman Powell today really got off to the hot start and continues to carry the Miami Heat. 25 points for him today on 10 of 20 shooting. Eric Reed said that he was the first Heat player to score over 20 points in 5 of his first 6 games. How the hell did LeBron not do that? I guess I'll look it up right now. Because when I heard him say that, I was like, that can't be true, right? LeBron never did that. Shaq even never did that. I don't know. I guess let me look that up with LeBron real quick because I am very curious. We'll go to his game log from 2010, 2011 with Miami. He scored 31, 16, 15, 20. No, he actually had under 20 points in his second and third game. I knew that Heat team got off to a bit of a rough start. I think they go 9-8, and they were talking about firing Spoelstra back then too. But yeah, LeBron did not score 20 in 5 of the first 6 games. What about Shaq? What year was that? That was 2004, 2005. Let's go to that game log there. And no, Shaq actually scored under 20 points his first 3 games. Wow. So what a stat from Norman Powell. First player in Heat history with 20 points or more in 5 of his first 6 games. Yeah, he's been awesome, man. He's been absolutely lethal. And then to go to the point guard spot, Davion Mitchell, 9 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, stuff the stat sheet. But we got to look at the turnovers. He had 5 assists to 1 turnover. Beautiful assist to turnover ratio for your point guard. And might as well jump to Drew Smith as well, who had 5 points, but 3 assists to no turnovers. So again, I get excited every video. So for your 2 point guards, 8 assists to 1 turnover. Clap it up. Beautiful point assist to turnover ratio from your 2 point guards. I love to see it. I would have liked to see more than 8 assists, but hey, I'm just talking about the ratio, and the ratio continues to be damn good. But I want to jump back to the starting lineup to close it out with Khalil Ware. 7 points, 6 rebounds in 30 minutes, and the efficiency. 3 of 13 from the field, 1 of 5 from 3. He wasn't good today, man. And I'll tell you, I expected him to be because I threw a little bit of money on his player props on FanDuel. None of them hit. It would have just been nice to see in his first starts versus a team that's not particularly big. I know Kalkbrenner in their first matchup did outplay Ware also. And I think Kalkbrenner again today. In the last matchup, Ware had better stats. And today, Kalkbrenner only had 10 and 5. So the numbers are similar, but if you watch the impact, Ware just doesn't have if you watch the game, Ware just doesn't have the kind of impact that Kalkbrenner has there in terms of rim protection. And again, Ware, he had his moments. He did have 3 blocks today, his first 3-block game of the season. But I promise y'all, you can't box score watch with Khalil Ware because even though he had those 3 blocks, he still gave up a lot in the paint. He still wasn't aggressive, looking after a lot of rebounds. And I like Khalil Ware. I think he's a super talented player. But it also was a disappointing game in his first start without Bam. I'm not going to lie to you. And the proof is in the pudding here because, the plus minus proves the eye test. Khalil Ware was a -3. He was a -3 in a game that the Heat won by 18. You know how bad you have to be, how negative an impact you have to be a minus in a game that your team won by 18? In a game that you were up 20 after the first quarter where he started? That's no good. And it's a trend. Because even today, Davion Mitchell was a -3. But that's not a trend. That's an outlier. Khalil Ware, meanwhile, has been a minus in every single game. And he has by far the worst plus minus on the team. It's concerning. We'll look at the bench here, though. Another guy who concerns me is Nikola Jovic. Numbers look great. 10 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, a block, 4 or 6 from the field. Only 1 turnover, but he just looks a little lost there at times. I know he still shot 4 or 6, but the 2 that he missed were kind of little bunnies at the rim, and he doesn't look as smooth as he did last year. I don't know why that is. I know Nikola Jokic in the post game after the Denver game said that the Heat should play Jovic more in the post, or at least he said Jovic played more post play in Serbia. But I don't know. You think Jovic would be a guy that would really thrive in this run and gun scheme, and you just haven't seen it so far. But he's young. Gotta hope he improves. And then we'll say a Kamehameha for last. We'll go to Fontecchio, my Italian brethren, who got MVP chance today. I love to see it. 11 points for him. 3 of 6 from the field. Hit some tough ones today. Continues to be a great spark plug off the bench. And then last guy that got minutes. So the Heat went 9 deep. Jaquez Jr. Jaquez Jr. 18 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, 8 of 15 from the field, 1 of 1 from the three-point line, only 2 turnovers. Wow, so 9 assists and 2 turnovers for him. That's nice. Continues to have a great game and what's been a great season for him, and to see him really take over the fourth quarter when things were a little bit in doubt. Just props to James, man, for really shutting the door on any type of Hornets comeback. When you're playing an inferior team, at least on paper or in the record books, you don't want to let them believe they have a chance. You want to close the door as early as possible, and that's what James really did early on in that fourth quarter. So props to James, and he's probably the most fun player to watch on this team. I love everything that James been. I love the Eric Reed, the Jaime Highway. Oh, that is beautiful. I got to get Eric Reed to throw in a Kamehameha Jaquez, though. Just imagine that call. Jaime gets the dunk, slam, Kamehameha Jaquez Jr. It'd be so nice. I wonder if Eric Reed knows what Dragon Ball Z is, though. But that's everyone who played for the Heat. No Vlad Golden, surprisingly, who was called up from the G League. They might need him tomorrow versus Donovan Clingan, or in the following days in which they play the Cavs back-to-back. I hope Bam can play against the Cavs, because I do not want to see Wiggins try to guard Evan Mobley. From the Hornets side of things, Trey Mann had a good game, 20 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. But shout out to Con Knibble, man. 30 points for the Rook, 9 of 23 from the field, so not great there. But I was a big fan of him coming out of Duke and coming into the draft. I think he'll be a great player. So it was nice to see him kind of show out scoring-wise, at least, without some of their best players. But I think that's really all I got to say for this video. I hope that I can get a post-game video to y'all tomorrow. Again, if I could sneak away from everyone I have over at my house, I'll be glad to talk some Heat Portland with y'all. But for now, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it if I do. I want to shout out FanDuel one more time, because right now the Heat actually, the odds got better for the Heat to win the Southeast Division, or worse, depending how you look on it. They were third to start the season, and then they were second once the Trae Young injury was announced. But now they're back to third. So I guess FanDuel saw the Bam injury. They dropped the Heat a little bit. So the Heat are now plus 300 to win the division. And I still like that bet, because we saw tonight what the Heat are capable of doing without Bam, without Tyler. They still have a talented team. And I don't think Bam is supposed to be out that long, at least fingers crossed. So shout out to FanDuel. Make sure y'all leave your thoughts down below. Very curious to hear what y'all think. And also like and subscribe, because your support is greatly appreciated. That being said, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out, everyone.
Look, pull up in your city, tryna get that dead face. Do it on my own, I don't need no dead weight. Had to kill him off, yeah, I need a head space. You know this homegrown bitch don't offend me.